She said, "I want you." Then vanished. Part I, The 20 Chosen Ones. Switzerland, 2010. The snow was still melting off the edges of the windowsills of a quiet mountain town. Tucked into its slopes was a prestigious hotel, management school that had welcomed 20 elite students from Central Asia, each a winner of a competitive government scholarship that had narrowed 3,000 applicants to the few gifted ones now walking its hallowed halls. Among them was Amina, a 28-year-old woman with a grounded elegance. She was older than most of the group, but somehow she felt as fresh and full of promise as the rest. Maybe even more. Education was never late, she often told herself, and now, finally, she was abroad, building the life she'd always wanted. The dormitories were lively. The atmosphere was a collision of cultures, ambition, and flirtation. These weren't just students. They were dreamers shaping futures in hospitality, tourism, and luxury service. They came from different cities, but they were bonded by shared language, food, and that subtle sense of being an outsider in Europe. That's when she noticed Camille. He was quiet, kept mostly to himself. Glasses perched low on his nose, always scribbling notes in classes. He had the soft manner of someone raised by books, not noise. And though he rarely spoke, when he did, his voice was gentle and intelligent. They had talked once. Just once. It was during a group workshop on sustainable tourism. Their eyes had met when he made a surprisingly witty joke about eco-resorts. She laughed, genuinely. He had glanced at her like he'd just stepped into sunlight. Part 2. The night that changed everything. It was a Saturday. Amina felt the ache of homesickness, the weight of loneliness. Her close friend had flown back for a family emergency, and the dormitory was unusually quiet. She tried distracting herself at the tiny on-campus disco in the basement. The colored lights blinked desperately. The music was loud, but it didn't work. After 2 shots of tequila, then 3, she danced. But her sadness clung to her hips. So she stepped outside to breathe. That's when she saw him, Camille. He was sitting alone near the outdoor kitchen table, sketching something in a little black notebook. His glasses caught the yellow lamplight like 2 tiny moons. Without thinking, she walked toward him. "Mind if I join?" He looked up, a bit startled, then smiled. "Yes, please." They talked. About food. About the pressure of being chosen. About loneliness in a foreign land. About cities they missed. She noticed how he listened, not just heard her, but listened, with his eyes and body leaning in like each word mattered. Then suddenly something shifted. Maybe it was the tequila finally landing in her bloodstream, or the way the cold air turned her skin alive. But her body ached for something more than conversation. Something raw, real, human. She locked her eyes with his and said quietly, "Can you come with me to my room?" He blinked. "Me? To your room?" "Yes," she said firmly. "You." He didn't speak, just stood up, following her as if hypnotized. Part 3. Desire without tomorrow. Inside her small room, she didn't hesitate. She closed the door, turned to face him. "I want you to kiss me. Can you?" His lips touched hers, tentative at first. Then she climbed on him like a storm. Her impulses spoke louder than any thought. She whispered to her own mind, "I want sex. Shut up." It was fast, wild, unfiltered. She rode him with a hunger she hadn't felt in years. Camille, stunned, let himself be consumed. Her body moved like it was possessed, seeking her own release, her own need. He was quiet, but his hands clung to her back like he never wanted to forget this moment. When she came, her body trembled with release. She opened her eyes and saw him beneath her, lips parted, stunned. He looked like he had won a lottery. Wow, he whispered. Then he kissed her again, sweetly this time. Tried to pull her closer, but she turned away. Please, she murmured. I enjoyed it. Thank you. That's all. He stayed silent, his shirt still unbuttoned, eyes confused. Then he left. She slept like a stone. Part 4, the days after. He tried to reach her the next day. And the next. In class, he hovered near. In the canteen, he smiled across tables. On the stairs, he gently tried to hold her hand. She pulled away. Amina, what's wrong? He asked one day, cornering her outside the library. She looked at him. Calm, cold. It was just something I wanted. That night. Okay? You know what I mean. He stood frozen as she walked away, feeling like a boy who had read the ending of a story he didn't want to end. Part V, the years after. Graduation came. Diplomas were handed out. They took group photos with snowy Swiss mountains in the background. They each flew back to Almaty, to Tashkent, to Bishk, to their separate fates. Camille eventually married. His wife was beautiful. Green eyes, white skin, a gentle smile that echoed someone he once knew. But she wasn't Amina. He searched her online sometimes. Facebook, Instagram, even obscure blogs. Nothing. She had vanished. Until one day on LinkedIn a familiar face appeared in the People You May Know section. Amina. Polished. Confident. Managing director at a 5-star luxury hotel in Dubai. Holding a baby in her profile photo. She looked like someone who had mastered life. He stared at the screen and then typed, Hi Amina. I've searched for you for years on all social media. You disappeared. The reply came minutes later. Hi there. Happy to hear from you. I'm good, really good. How about you? His heart jumped. Doing good too. Married now. 2 kids. My wife. Actually looks a bit like you. Green eyes, fair skin. Even smiles like you. He paused, unsure if he had said too much. Wow, she replied. That's sweet. I'm happy for you. She was lying in her hotel suite, baby asleep next to her. Her husband was working late. She read his message and laughed softly, not out of mockery, but from memory. That impulsive night in Switzerland. That desire. That boldness. She remembered it not with shame, but with a kind of sacred nostalgia. For one night, she had felt wild, free, and unapologetically herself. She smiled. Typed. I still remember that night. I was crazy, huh? He replied. No, you were unforgettable. Part Vi. Closure without ending. They didn't exchange more messages. There was no need. Their lives had moved on, with children and cities and careers. But something invisible, something warm connected them, across countries and time zones. She looked out the window that night over the Dubai skyline, thinking, sometimes we don't owe the world explanations for our desires. Sometimes we just live. She touched her child's hair, kissed his forehead, and whispered to herself, Thank you, Switzerland. The end.